Okay, it's on. Trust issues. How are trust issues developed? Very quickly, we got to speed through this. Huh? Some violation of trust. How do we violate the trust? Quickly. Cheating. What happens if you catch your spouse or your partner cheating? Trust out the window, right? If somebody lies to you, what happens to trust? Out the window, right? What else? What are you going to say? Maybe lack of communication. I'm telling you, when we get scarred, we tend to hold back a little bit more, because if somebody lets you down, trust violated. We had this thing. Go ahead.
I want to say like your resume.
What do you mean?
Like your previous relationships, how they like you're discussing how
That's huge. Well, I'll get to that. He's talking about multiple partners. When you have multiple partners, I promise you, if you get, let's say guys, you had 5 girlfriends, 5 women that you slept with, girl A, B, C, D, and E. You finally meet Mrs. Right. I promise you, I'm going to break this down in a minute. This will affect that. You're with her, you want to marry her, but you've been programmed by all of this. And don't believe that lie. We went over this last week. Don't believe the lie. Well, all of this made me a better person. Turn to somebody and say, if that's you, you're a moron. Tell them. Because most of you, I thought this. I used to think this. I used to think all of this made me a better person. It did not. I thought this was practice for success. This is not practice for success, all these booty calls and things like this. This is practice for divorce. Wait, hang on. Did you hear? This is practice. We good? I mean, listen, this is an open forum. If you guys got something, say it. All right? And I'm going to be spitting stuff at you real quick. And you're going to miss it because you're having small conversations out there. This is not practice for success. This is practice for divorce. Amen. And here's the proof. Because to get from relationship A to B, you had to break up. That's called divorce. You didn't have the stamina. You didn't have the power to keep it going and work through that relationship and make it work. You bailed. That's called divorce. And it got easier. I divorced from B to C. I went to girl D and I divorced that. I divorced that. And you've been practicing for divorce. Well, no one ever told me that. Well, you done heard it now. You're practicing for divorce. There's this thing where trust issues are involved. There's this thing called projecting. Who knows what projecting is? Quickly. Ray? Dude, I like Ray. I like you. Gaslighting. Yeah, exactly right. Give me more. We had, your experiences, you assume someone else is guilty for that. It's kind of like, don't move too much, if this applies to you. You shoplifted something, and then you're walking around the store, and you think everyone's looking at you. You're projecting, you're guilty, and you know you're guilty, and you're thinking everyone saw you. I had a friend, before I went to the Gulf, I had a friend, a Marine that I worked with, and we were getting ready to deploy, and he said, I don't trust my wife. Her name, Julie. I don't trust Julie. She's gonna mess around on me. And Julie wasn't messing around. Who was doing the messing around? He was. And he assumed because I'm messing around, she's messing around. That's not how that works. And it gets worse. It gets worse. Projecting, trust issues. What ends up happening, I go home for a funeral. I think one of my sister was killed in a car crash. I think this is the time. And what ends up happening, my family's completely dysfunctional. It's crazy. You won't believe some of the stuff that goes on in my family that I had to endure, from molestation to my mom's funeral. They changed, my sisters changed the location of the funeral because they were angry at me, and I'm at the funeral and no one's there. This is insane stuff, man. And so what ends up happening, I'm shaving one time in the mirror, getting ready for my sister's funeral, and I pray and I ask the Lord, why does my family struggle with their belief in you? And the Lord showed me very plainly. He said, because your father, your biological father, is supposed to be a reflection of your heavenly Father. Did you catch that? God says your biological father is supposed to be a reflection of me, your heavenly Father. And he says, your biological father was a joke. He committed incest. He molested your sister. He committed adultery. Divorced and left the family. Abandoned you guys. And so all the kids were hurt from this. And so basically they say, projection, my sisters, because my earthly father was a joke, my heavenly Father's a joke. That's projection. But it all comes from our crap. The crap that we've done. We're the ones that are guilty. But when we just assume everyone else is guilty, we project onto other people. Like you said, gaslighting. Make sense? We haven't even got into it yet. Here we go. And see, the question right now, you need to ask yourself right now, whatever relationships you're in right now, are you fostering trust or mistrust in that relationship? You might be in a marriage right now. God help me. I have this conversation with so many men, young and old. Lord. I'm going to try to get to these slides, but I have to say something. You men are quick, particularly Christian men, bunch of clowns. You think, because you've been told that when you get married, I'm the spiritual leader of the house. And you're right, but my question, and I start digging around in your life, show me your Bible study time, show me your prayer time, show me your work, show me your faith, and there's nothing there. So I'll ask this young man, you want to be the spiritual leader, you don't even know where you're going. How are you going to lead someone and have her trust you to lead when you don't even know where you're going? You're not following the Lord. Spiritual leader, my eye. I've had 3 or 4 conversations just this week. And this God stuff is serious. Man, if you're following the Lord, man, you're probably not going to make as many mistakes. You're going to still mess up, but you got to follow the Lord. There's more. Check this out. Without going here, there's a lot of scripture. Genesis 49:1 is the Jacob is gathering all of his sons, and he's about to pass out the blessings to his sons, and generally the first one gets the double portion and the inheritance and everything. But what ends up happening? Let's turn there. Genesis 49. Everybody go there. Yes, Lord. Not going to rush this. Not going to rush it. Look, make sure you have a Bible. If you don't have one, look on your neighbor's Bible. But we're going to fly through this. Get in there, guys. Genesis, beginning of the Bible. I'm going to show you something. Everybody there? Genesis chapter 49, 1 through 4. You with me? Here we go. It says, verse 1, then Jacob called his sons and said, gather yourselves together, because he's on his deathbed, that I may tell you what shall happen to you in the days to come. 2, assemble and listen, O sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel your father. 3, Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the first fruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. But 4, unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence. You shall not excel, because you went up to your father's bed and you defiled it. You went up into my couch. Let me tell you what happened. A couple of chapters before this, if you study this out, what you'll find out is that Jacob had a wife that Reuben slept with. And so he said, you shall not excel. The blessings are going to pass over you because you are unstable as water. What does that mean, unstable as water? Is water stable? Can you stand water up? He's saying you're unstable as water. And if you read James 1:8, it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. What does this have to do with sex? Because with sexual sins, they're so serious, there's a splitting of your soul that occurs. Watch this. Proverbs 4:23 says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of this flow everything. Everything comes from this right here. Whatever goes on up here, guard this. Basically, pollution in, pollution out. Word of God is a solution. Solution in, solution out. So what are you putting in there? There's that. James 1:8, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Luke 21:19, Jesus is speaking here. He says, in patience you will possess your souls. In patience, you will possess your souls. What if you flip that around a little bit? In impatience, what happens? You're going to lose your soul. This is your soul, and a lot of people don't even know what their soul is. You guys tracking? Am I going too fast? If you get lost, stop me. I'm fine with that. Got it? Here we go. What's your soul? That's basically your soul in a nutshell, right here. It's your will, your intellect, and your emotions. Don't ever forget that. It's your will. That's what you do. It's like your willpower. And your intellect is what you think. Your emotions is what you feel. When you compromise this right here, you lose the capacity to do right, think right, and feel right. This is what sin does to our soul. And sexual sins are worse. This is our soul, and we split our soul. Now, the word daisukos, I pray you guys never forget this, man. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That word right there, double-minded, the Greek word is daisukos. Daisukos. What does that look like? What's that word? Psyche. D-I. What does D-I mean? Not drill instructor. Divide. Like dissect, dilute, divorce. That's what that means. Daisukos, split soul. And as soon as you start splitting this, you ever wonder why you don't have the capacity to see something all the way through? I'm gonna get my bachelor's. I'm gonna start PTing more. I'm gonna knock out all my MCIs this month. And then you start, and then you fizzle out. I'm gonna stop masturbating. I'm gonna stop drinking. You know what's happening? Your soul is compromised because you don't have the willpower to do that thing through. I'm going to be faithful to my wife. I'm going to stop watching porn. And you fail because your soul is compromised right there. Your doer has been impacted. You may only have 50% of your strength. Only 50% mental strength. Dude, I know you're feeling this. I need you to understand that your soul is your character. Your soul is your character, and your character is made up. I'm really flying through this because I have a lot of information. Your character is made up of every single decision you make. How many decisions have you made this week? And in the last 48 hours, how many decisions have you made? I'd say thousands. Little simple decisions. Simple. I mean, some of you were wrestling with whether or not to come here tonight. That was a decision. Some of you wrestled about waking up and getting out of bed this morning. I don't know if you had PT or formation. Some of you wrestled with, should I answer that phone or not, at work? Should I salute or not? Should I pretend like I didn't see him or not? You know what I'm talking about? Should I go to Chow Ho or go to Burger King? And all these decisions, should I call my wife or not? Should I pray or not? Should I brush my teeth or not? Should I wipe or not? You think I'm kidding? Every single decision you make is important. And this is the crux. Every decision you make will either make yourself better or worse. It will enhance your life or diminish your life. Now, let me give you an illustration. This right here is like your character, all these bricks. And if you notice in this wall right here, there's some strong bricks. They're literally bricks. These are foam bricks. These are wood bricks. Those are sponge bricks. The brick bricks, these are decisions that I made. This is a character that I'm forming with every decision that I made. Like just say last 24 hours, last week or something. These bricks, these are God-honoring bricks. They're God-honoring decisions. They're immovable. They won't change because they were God-honoring. They're real. They're strong. Got it? But when I compromise, I start making bricks like out of foam and sponge and wood and this. And what's going to happen? This character right here, just where sex is concerned, look at all these weak decisions that I've made. This is guy A, that's guy B. Look at all the weak decisions this guy has made. Now, I promise you, if a storm hit this wall, and I'll use another word instead of storm, temptation comes and hits this character, where will this wall fail?
The foundation line.
At the weak decisions that I made. The weak decisions. And this is why it's important that you make strong decisions all the time. But show of hands, how many of us know it's really easy to make weak decisions, bad decisions? Yeah, and I know my character looks like this. This is why we have problems. I promise you. To have a character like this with minimal baggage in it, that's a fight right there. But it's worth it. It's worth it. I have to say this. I told you guys on last week that where I get this illustration from, God speaks. God speaks. And years ago, my wife and I, we've been married since 86. Do the math. What is that? 30? How many years is that? Come on. 30 what? 36 years? 36 years. When you get older, man, you just stop counting, man. I want the big numbers like the 30, the 40, the 50. You just stop counting. A lot of dates. It's been over 30 years. And I promise you, we've had a great marriage. I'm not making, you can talk to her and see if I'm making this up. I'm not. I'm madly in love. She's madly, she loves me. And trust. It's like this. I still get excited when Sandy leaves the house and she's going to Foster or Cadena shopping, whatever. And I'm at the house by myself and she leaves and she's gone for a couple hours and then I can hear her keys in the door. Man, my tail starts to wag. I'm like, gosh, she came back. And she comes walking in the door and I'm like, I'm surprised. Like, you keep coming back. Why? What does that prove to me? She chose to come back to be with me. She could have taken off. And so I'm excited about that. And so we have a great marriage. However, we had premarital sex. I was the aggressive one sexually. We had premarital sex. And here it is, 15, 20 years into the marriage. God speaks, and God spoke to me and says, apologize to your wife. And I'm like, what? And pay very close attention because I'm going to try to peel this apart in just a second. Apologize to your wife. Why? For having premarital sex. Now watch my responses. Lord, you forgave me for that. Apologize to Sandy. Lord, that was a long time ago. Apologize to Sandy. Lord, I married her, so I made it right. Apologize to Sandy. Lord, we're happy. Apologize to Sandy. Lord, it was consensual. Apologize to Sandy. What am I doing? It's a reflection of my character. What am I doing? Rationalizing. I'm compromising. Give me your name again. Gabe. Another Gabe. I'm rationalizing and I'm compromising. And I promise you, I'm really convicted by this. I'm pained by this because I didn't prove my strength. I actually proved my weakness more than anything when I had opportunity to say no and be strong for her. I didn't. I failed. And so I'm convicted now, and I get before the Lord, and God forgives me, and I purpose in my heart, I have to apologize to Sandy. Long story short, it just happened. She happened to be sitting on the edge of the love seat, and I'm walking by her. We're alone in the house, and I knew that it was time. And I said, Sandy, I owe you an apology. And she looked at me, she said, for what? I said, for having premarital sex. And then before I didn't rehearse this or anything, I was on my knees and I was literally crying to her saying, I'm sorry. I wasn't strong. I wasn't very bright. I didn't know your value. I didn't know God. I wasn't even a Christian. I didn't understand the purpose of anything. I'm sorry. And then she was crying too. She said, Nick, I didn't even know that I needed to hear an apology from you. But I did. And boom, right there on the spot. She said, I forgive you. I promise you that our relationship went to an entirely new level of intimacy, love, fire. Why? What happened? Well, what happened when I apologized? See, what happened, this is what happened. And afterwards, because, we had a moment, it was like makeup, hallelujah. After that, in my prayer time, stop laughing, Alex. In my prayer time, I got before the Lord, and He showed me what He did. He said, Nick, you had a pattern of rationalization in your character, and it's been with you for years. And He says, what happened when you said, forgive me, that nasty brick went out and a strong brick went in. What did it do to my character and my foundation? It made it stronger. It edified it. It reinforced it. And God told me, He said, what I'm calling you to do, you cannot compromise. You cannot rationalize. You're going to be talking about issues like sex and things like this. And you can't fall here. Is this making sense? Now, I want you to see something. Guy A Guy B. I'll come back to that. This was in my foundation, and over the years I've been getting this stuff out. All this impatience, distrust, insecurities. I was undisciplined with my sexuality. I had these patterns, this rationalization, compromise, and I was programmed and I was conditioned to act and do a certain way. And God says, I'm going to change all of that. What happened if let's say this was premarital sex. How do I want to say this? A lot of people don't understand the value of sex and the legit value of sex, and we've devalued it, and we don't think this thing through. But you're going to think today. What ends up happening because we've devalued sex, it's killing us is what it's doing, but we don't understand why we're dying mentally, physically. Guy A, Guy B. Just where sexual sins are concerned, this is a reflection of their sexual history. Which guy has more baggage? Guy A? More baggage, yeah? Which guy is probably going to be a better husband? Are you making that up or are you serious? Yeah, because we can see he's got minimal baggage. Which guy are you? Because I promise you, I've said this before, divorce is predictable. If I'm counseling you and you're honest with me, for the record, every one of you, I give you 100%, I trust you 100%. The moment you start lying to me, trust is out the window. I don't trust you anymore. You're a liar. You have no reason to lie to me. The only reason you'll lie to me is because your shame and your pride is greater than the truth that's in you. You can talk to me about anything. I promise you, I've probably done everything you've done and worse. Chief sinner. Divorce is predictable. When we do these counselings with people, pre-marriage counseling, you just got to ask them, you guys been having sex? Have you been married before? Do you have any babies? You had any STDs? Your porn habit, when's the last time you masturbated? Are you two having premarital sex? And if you can comb through all of that, whatever's on the record is going to tell you what kind of people they're going to be. Making sense? So basically, if you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship or your husband-wife relationship type of thing, and you had premarital sex, there's curses in your foundation. They need to be addressed. And when I apologized, I repented to the Lord, and I apologized to Sandy. That curse came out. Dude, everybody wants happily ever after. I think raise your hand in here if you legit can't wait to get married just so you can get a divorce. Yeah, woohoo! Nobody does that. We all want to live happily ever after. The problem is you're not taught or you refuse to plant happily ever after seeds. It's like planting tomatoes and expecting squash. See, the happily ever after seeds are the truth. It's compromise. It's purity. It's obedience to God. It's growth in Christ. You guys okay with this? All right. 3-4, man. I don't know. Here's the real talk right here. Think about how come you didn't wait? Okay, not you guys. Let's talk about everyone else, but not you guys. What does it say about people who don't wait for sex?
Impatient, undisciplined.
Lustful, impatient, undisciplined, all of this, yes. So when you examine somebody's character, there's again, the record shows. Let's just say, I did this last week. This is chair right here. This is the marriage date, right? This is 6 months ahead of time. This is 6 months prior. Couple A, they meet, and they have sex. And so booty call, sex. I love you too. Let's get married. Okay, boom. Now we're married. What happens after this? I'll explain in just a second. Now that we're married. Couple B, they meet 6 months ago, and I love you too. No hanky-panky, no hanky-panky, no hanky-panky, no hanky-panky. Then they get married. What's their track record going to be? my point here is that all pleasure costs you something. All pleasure is going to cost you something. For legitimate pleasure, you're going to pay first. You pay for the pleasure with waiting and discipline and patience and obedience to God and understanding. And then you paid for it. Couple B, they paid for it. And then now they get to enjoy the pleasure of sex because it's guilt-free. Couple A, they got the pleasure first. They got all this pleasure first. And now all pleasure costs you. Now you're going to pay for it. Now that you're married, how do you pay for it? Come on.
Trust issues.
Divorce, trust issues, everything up there. Programming, conditioning, compromising. That's in your character. If you will compromise with sex, you will compromise with anything else. It's not a big deal. What's the big deal? It's huge. This is what God says. Run from that one. Don't fail here. This is the only sin in the Bible. God says run from that one. Because I believe it's rooted in, God gives us permission to run from that one because this is the most important one. This is the only act that can produce life. And you don't want to mess this up. Because if you produce life, you've had a baby, your responsibilities towards that baby are huge. But what happens if you don't care? Just get an abortion. How heinous is that? Guilty. I did it. I did that to a girl to get an abortion. Or got her pregnant, I'll send you child support. You're not thinking about the kid. That's all about you. Make sense? All right. Well, how come I didn't wait? Flesh. I've spoken at so many courts-martial. And I've had to speak on behalf of some of the convicted sexual offenders that were in the brig, E1s through 06s. And they'd come and they'd be part of the sexual rehab program that we fix, what you guys are getting right now in these 5-week series. And I'd have to speak to their remorse. I'd have to speak to their recovery, where they're at in their recovery, and I'd have to speak to their potential for fitting back into society, right? And it always came down to this. Boy, then prosecution don't play. They're merciless. Prosecution, they're going to cut you up. And the prisoners that I spoke for, all were broken down. If you were fake, you don't want me on the witness stand because I'll tell everyone in the court, he's fake. Yeah, throw the book at him. But if you were genuine and you were remorseful, this guy, he came to all the Bible studies. As a matter of fact, he was teaching. This dude prays. This dude is reading all the books, and he's cried, and we prayed together, and I've talked to his wife, and we've talked to his wife, and there's a lot of recovery going. This guy has potential. Save him. The problem when I guess the bottom line here is do you want recovery or not? Because what the prosecution will do, because it doesn't matter what the prosecution or anybody else says, because people are going to judge you. Even your own family are going to judge you for sexual sins, particularly these prisoners. And the prosecution, the witness, the defendant has opportunity to make a personal statement. And every single time, this guy, E1 through 06, he'd get up and he'd make a personal statement. I have messed up. In all humility, I've messed up. I've discredited the United States Navy, Marine Corps. I've discredited my family. I'm a disgrace. I've learned. I'm growing. I'm learning. I didn't know, but I'm learning. And usually they're in tears doing this because everyone's watching. And they're not made up tears. And so what ends up happening, as soon as he's done, prosecution gets to say something. You believe that? He's only crying because he got caught. This is some cold-blooded stuff, man. And you have to endure that stuff. But I tell you what, minimize the baggage, and try to avoid this stuff. Let's go forward. Here's the cost. The cost is your soul. Your soul is the payment for sin. If you read these scriptures, Proverbs 6:32 says, whoever commits adultery lacks understanding, and he murders his own soul. He murders this thing right here. We destroy this because I'm I'm committing adultery. I'm looking at porn, booty calls, masturbating. I'm destroying this right here. This is a huge point. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? And this right here says, when God saw the travail of Jesus' soul, the wrath of God was satisfied. So your soul is the payment for sin. All right? Well, also, your glory is the payment for sin. You study this out. Your glory is your essence. Your glory is your life. Everything that's about you, your glory is huge. But if you read this is a story of the ignorant guy who's walking around a whorehouse. And as he's walking, this woman is drawing him in, and it says, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a fowl, a bird goes into the snare, this young man goes in there not knowing it's going to cost him his life. And he says, a dart pierces his liver. It literally uses the word liver in the King James. Where's that right there? Liver. That word liver, is your liver a vital organ? Yes. Some of you didn't know that. What's the biggest characteristic about your liver? This is one of the biggest ones. It's huge. It's the biggest organ in your body. It's weighty. You study that word out. That word liver in the King James, in the Hebrew, it's kabod. Kabod. It means value. It means weighty. It means something like gold. It's heavy. So it says, the man doesn't know this. He's committing adultery till a dart pierces his liver and destroys him. Right, you guys ever seen Saving Private Ryan? You remember where they're attacking the hill and Doc gets shot? And Doc is laying there. He's like this. And they're trying to work on him. But he's in. There's an entry hole. There's an exit hole. And he's like, Doc, put your finger in there. Figure it out. And he puts his finger in there. And what does he say right away? He says, oh my God, it's my liver. What do we know right there? He's a dead man. He's going to die. That's how vital your liver is. Well, this is what it's talking about. When we fall into sexual sins, it's like your liver being shot. Now, if you study this out, the same word is used right in here where Eli had two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, and they went to combat with the Israelite soldiers, and they were at war, and they got beat up, lost 4,000 men in one day, and the Israelis got a clue. Let's go get the Ark of the Covenant of God, and let's bring that to battle with us. They brought that with them, and they lost again. This time they lost 30,000 men, and the Ark was captured. And then there was a messenger who left the battlefront, went back and told Eli what had happened. He says, your sons are dead, both of them, and we lost the Ark. Remember this? Eli's chair falls backwards, and he breaks his neck. He was overweight, and he dies. His daughter-in-law, who was married to Phinehas, she was pregnant, and she went in labor with her son. And when he was born, she named him Ichabod. Same word. Kabod, glory, Ichabod. What did she say? She said, because the ark has been stolen, we've lost the ark, the glory has left. This is glory departed right there. And this is what this is talking about. When we sin sexually, our glory departs. You guys okay? I hope I'm not losing you, man. Okay, there's that. I told you about the now or later principle. You're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. All right, all pleasure costs you something. I call that the now or later principle. I already told you that. Okay. Just so you know, for the record, some of you wrestle with this and think, well, I was in high school, it was love. It was love. Or, oh, I was with this girl, started out and it was love. And I don't know, something went wrong. Or my first marriage started out with love and then something went wrong. Was it love?
No.
What's the proof that it was love? Where's the proof that it was love? There's one measuring stick. It's right there. God is the measuring stick. Did God say that was love? I had a first sergeant, I can't remember, he was a Marine. And he said, he was in the brig because they did an orgy thing with female Marines and his junior Marines. I mean, there was probably 20 people, a bunch of females, and they went out to White Beach, and a lot of bang, 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 bang. They got caught. And in the brig, he said, I don't even know why I'm here. Everybody's doing it. So it was consensual. He was married. He said, it was consensual. And he said, besides, it was love. Why am I getting charged for love? I said, what makes you say it was love? Because this is his definition of love. He said, because I made sure they climaxed first. Make sure that they orgasmed first. I said, that's your measuring stick for love? That's your definition of love? And I would always ask him one question. I said, did God say that was love? And he'd get pissed every time. He always bringing up God because he's the only measuring stick for morality. He is the truth. And now if you want to call it love, you're trying to be God. Ask God, is what you did, was that love? We're on first base. We're only on first base. You guys okay? Okay, if you have questions, throw your paw in the air. All right. Soul ties. Let's talk about soul ties. I already told you that. An arrow pierces his liver. It will cost him his life. That's kabod. Kabod. Your liver is important. And where possession is concerned, I'll get into this on next week when we talk about the spiritual realm of sex. Where possession is concerned, there's a big debate in the church about can a Christian be possessed? Can a Christian be possessed? It is not a complicated question. I don't even debate this anymore. You guys can debate all you want to. I'm settled on the matter. Not complicated. Man is a three-part being. You have a body, a soul, and a spirit. That's your three natures. That's what you have: a body, a soul, and a spirit. Let me see here. He fell for it.
God.
What do I have?
What an idiot.
What do I have right here?
Possession.
I just took possession of his hand. Did I violate his free will to get this? See, I have possession. We're talking about possession right now. He agreed to take my hand. This is a contract. He says he trusted me. And that's how it is with sexual sins. We just do it. We agree to do it. So, I got to really talk about this. We agree to do it. And when we agree to sin, there's a form of possession that takes place, which is why that's your body, soul, and spirit. Body. That you would know how to possess your own body, and you would possess your own body in sanctification and honor. Your soul, Jesus said, in patience you will possess your soul. And then 1 Corinthians 6:16 talks about the two become one. The two become one, and sex is a mystery. It's spiritual, and the two become one. There's a possession that occurs. You're going to unite yourself with a harlot, or you're going to unite yourself with Christ sexually. You guys okay? All sex connects. I don't care how you slice it, all sex connects. All sex joins you. It fuses you. It ties you. It binds you. It marries you. You're married. Every time you masturbate, you're marrying. Every time you have sex, you're marrying something. My wife and I, like I said, 30-something years of marriage, physically, every time that we've been together, it's like, can you imagine? I just want you to imagine. When you have sex with a person one time, just one time, one rope. You're tied to her, and you never slept with her again. But she's on the other side of the planet. You're tied to her. And that was 20, 30, 40 years ago. You're still tied to her. You don't even know it. But see, in a healthy way, over 30 plus years of marriage, my wife and I, every time we've been together, what's happening? Another rope, another rope, another rope, another rope, another rope. What's happening? How tight are we? How strong are we? Dude, this is something you want. You want this. And I'll get into, oh man. Okay. So this is what soul ties are. This is very, very important. Every time you have sex, you're establishing soul ties. The definitions of soul ties: psychological, emotional, physiological. There's a joining, there's a fusing. It's a captivation of your will, intellect, and emotions. There's your soul again. Your doer, your thinker, and your feeler. Captured. Well, understand that soul ties can be good or bad. They can be godly, they can be ungodly. They can be healthy, they can be unhealthy, depending on what you did with that sex. We just got through saying and admitting that 99.9% of all my sex was bad. Those are ungodly soul ties. Remember all that pollution you're tied to? Not complicated. You're going to know. Sex is the primary means of establishing soul ties. Like, it's Joey, right? Ray, right? Okay, I've just met them this evening. And right now we're establishing soul ties. Right? And it's not even, we're not talking about sexual soul ties, but we're establishing soul ties. And soul ties can be healthy. We're talking about sexual soul ties. David and Jonathan, if you study them out in the Bible, David and Jonathan, they had probably the best soul ties in the Bible. And he said, and he even told him, my love for you has surpassed that of women. That's not a homosexual thing. The homosexuals have tried to hijack that. Don't fall for that. That's not what he's saying. I've been to combat. The guys that I went to combat with, closest men I've ever been with, to this day in my life. Why? Because we have soul ties, man. Because we went through some thick shit together. Right? There's nothing like it. And so, you have to determine, was that soul tie good or bad? And God is the measuring stick for that. Got it? I went over this last week, Romans 6:16. It's the law of yielding in bondage. Real simple. It says, whatever you yield to, you become a slave to it. That's it. It says a little bit more, but it says, whatever you give into, you become a slave to it. It says you can yield, make a decision, like the character right here. You can yield to bad things, and you'll be a slave to bad things. Or you can choose to yield to good things and be a slave to good things. You want to be a slave to good things. That's in the Bible. So basically, there's another law. It's of sowing and reaping. Galatians 6, it says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever you sow, that's what you'll reap. So if this is you sowing all this sexual sins, you're going to reap something. It's like planting tomatoes, you're going to get tomatoes. Whereas if you're planning, and I want a great marriage, I'm planting happily ever after seeds, you're going to get happily ever after. It's up to you. It depends on what you're sowing. Right? All right. Imprinting. There's this thing called imprinting. Imprinting means you saw something and it adjusted your psyche. You saw something and it programmed your life. It programmed the way you think and perceive things. And so basically, it's kind of like there's all kind of birds that when they hatch, you got the handlers have to be very careful, because when these birds hatch, the first thing the bird sees becomes its parent. Santiago, right? Santiago, what's up? Man, I talked to your mom and dad. You think I'm kidding? The first thing that bird sees, it latches to. It can. The bird sees Santiago. He's not a chicken, but the bird sees him and it thinks, Mom, Dad. It imprinted. It's stuck on him for the rest, and that bird will follow him the rest of his life and die because he doesn't know what to do with chickens or birds or whatever. Right? Where sex is concerned, and this is key, please don't ever forget this. Most men, this is your biggest problem right here. Your initial experiences with sex, you imprinted on the act and not the girl. You were supposed to be taught, and you were supposed to know I'm supposed to imprint on the girl. Because if you imprinted on the girl, that sets you up for imprinting on the girl for the rest of your life. But the problem is we imprint on just the act only, and it's just the sex is an act, which is why we treat her like an object. You hear how quiet it is? And it's not, I don't think you guys are sleeping, are you?
No.
Making sense? So that's imprinting. It's a form of conditioning, programming, it's training. Here's some examples. I'm going to fly through these. Examples of soul ties. The Bible's full of these. You study Lot. This guy in the Bible, Lot, I can't get into all the details, but Lot, he had a choice. He had to split up with Abram, and they had to split up, and Abram said, you choose east, I'll go west. You choose west, I'll go east. Our families are getting too big, too much confusion, too much drama. You choose. And Lot, he looked around, and it says he pitched his tent towards Sodom. What is Sodom? It's like Sacramento. It's bad. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. We know about Sodom and Gomorrah. And he said, I could go over here, but Sodom and Gomorrah is over here. And he built a house over in Sodom. He pitched his tent. He put up his tent in Sodom. It was a decision that he made. Now, why did he make that decision? Because that's who he was. He was kind of pervin. Where's the proof? This dude had issues. He was the gatekeeper. This is just one guy, gatekeeper. You know what a gatekeeper does? He regulates what goes in and out. In the brig, there was this, right in the middle, there's this room with all the buttons. In this room, all the cameras, and they call it master control. And you got a little PFC or Lance Corporal in there. He's in charge of the entire brig, every door. And he's looking at the camera, and lets you in. Looks at, nope, not you. Well, who are you? What do you want? So he regulates. He knows what comes in. He knows what goes out. That's what Lot was doing. And he saw all the trash coming in and all the trash going out. And he must have liked it because he did it for years. And then when the time came for them, the angels came to visit him. And the angels were pounding, the homosexuals in the community were pounding on his door saying, we know who's in there. Let them out so that we may have sex with them. And Lot holding the door down because they're about to beat his door down. And Lot's telling them, no, don't mess with these men. They're visitors. Don't mess with these men. These are angels. Don't mess with them. He said, take my 2 virgin daughters instead. What kind of man, what kind of dad does that? If this was women, right now, all of you, a room full of women, they'd be pissed. You guys are kind of like, what? What's the big deal? What? No, you don't give up your daughter, man. Don't give up your daughter. And then when it says it was time for him to go because they were going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, it literally says Lot lingered. He's dragging feet. He ain't trying to go. He's like trying to stay. He's lingering. And then he failed to lead his wife properly because she looked back. The one rule was don't look back. Run, don't look back. What'd she do? She looked back. She looked back. So was she with him or was she with Sodom and Gomorrah? She wasn't with him. That's his fault. And then he slept with his daughters. Yeah, supposedly they got drunk and they need to repopulate, whatever. But dude, you don't get that drunk. I promise you this. It's impossible to get that drunk and still function. Some of you in here thinking, yeah, challenge accepted. Yeah, go ahead and play. Yeah, go ahead and play. Go ahead and play. That was the number one reason why everyone was in the brig. Alcohol. An alcohol-related incident. So, judgment out the window. Impaired out the window. Career over. Jacob. He hated Leah, and he worked all these years. He worked all the years for Rachel, but he hated Leah, but he kept sleeping with her. He had all his sons through her. And matter of fact, couple translations talk about Leah was quite ugly, and he was tricked into marrying Leah, but he really loved Rachel, but he was sleeping with Leah. What did I tell you about him? You study out Leah, the one he was tricked into marrying, weak, weary, weak, tired, tender-eyed, possibly unattractive. She was deceitfully married off. How does this affect people's soul? She was dad tricked Jacob into marrying her. Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, but on the wedding night, dad slid Leah in there. And when he woke up, he acted like he was surprised, like, oh, what is this? I don't buy that. I think you would have figured that out. You worked 7 years. It wasn't that dark. You would have figured that out. So then, what must she feel like knowing that someone had to be tricked into marrying her and that the community knows it? All of you in the city right now know that Leah was tricked into marrying me. Can you imagine what she's walking around feeling? A lot of shame. Soul impacted, soul jacked up. And so she goes on, her soul is tied to Jacob. And she accused Rachel she says, isn't it enough that you stole my husband? Oh man, I almost cussed just now. She didn't steal your husband. That husband belonged to Rachel. You're the one who, if anything, stole the husband because you cooperated with this scheme. Then, this is what Leah did. Because she's soul tied, she names all of her sons in an attempt to gain Jacob's affections. You read all this. She had Reuben, and Reuben means, behold a son, now my husband will love me. She had another son, Simeon, because having sons was the cat's meow. Having sons It was like, woo! It was like they were better than women. And so Simeon, she says, God has heard my cry and saw that I was hated. So she named him Simeon. Levi, now will I be joined and twined to my husband. Judah, now I will praise God. Judah means praise, because I have another son to give. Issachar, he will bring a reward. My husband is my reward. She still wants his love. She's soulfully tied to this guy. And then the last one, Zebulun, that's the name of our church out in town. It means dwell. She said, now my husband will dwell with me. Now my husband will dwell with me. Because I finally given him another son. But he never, years ago, Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole actually said that what Jacob was doing with Leah, he called it vaginal masturbation. He said it was vaginal masturbation. He didn't love her, but he kept sleeping with her and having sons through her. And he said it was just an act, vaginal masturbation. So then there's Shechem. If you read about Shechem, he actually raped Dinah. He raped her. And he said, I got to have her so much. And then he raped her. And then he said it was love. Was that love? No, it was not love. And then it says his soul claved for her. It was not love. Go back and read that. And then Reuben, that's the one I told you about earlier, he slept with his father's concubine. And he said, you're unstable as water. He said, you went up to my bed and you defiled it. And then Samson, you guys know about Samson. You read this, his soul was vexed. His soul was vexed. So much so that he didn't even know that the Spirit of the Lord had left him. And so, all these people, their souls are jacked up because of sex. This is all throughout the Bible, man. And then David, you know about David and Bathsheba, yeah? Years ago, I preached a sermon. You guys know about David and Bathsheba? Remember David? It starts out, it was a time, he was a mighty warrior. It was a time when kings go off to war. And what David did, he sat back and said, you boys going without me. I'm going to sit this one out. And he's up on his rooftop of his penthouse, and he's looking out, and he sees Bathsheba. And he tells his boy, hey, go get her digits, man. Tell her to come on over here. And he went and he slept with her. I preached a sermon years ago. I can't get into this right now, but it was King David was a libo risk. Because Marines, I'm going to tell you right now, Marines, a lot of time when you're at work, you do your work well. Generally speaking, you do your work well. But, oh boy, when they let us off, how much trouble can we get into when formation is secured? It's the weekend. I got a little money in my pocket. This is libo. We get in trouble. That's what he did. He should have went to war. So there's that. So these are just examples of soul ties. Okay, these are some of the effects of soul ties. What time is it? Oh, I'm way ahead of schedule. Good. Effects of soul ties. This is some of the effects. Just know this. Your soul is the payment for sin. I went over that earlier. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and yet loses his soul? When God saw the travail of Jesus' soul, I'll get into this next week. Your soul joins the spirit of whoredoms. Your soul, just a little precursor. You get attached, sexually speaking, you get attached to the spirit of whoredoms. Because the Bible says the spirit of whoredoms has caused my people to err. Now, if you know this, don't say anything. Whoredoms, it's a compound word. What does it mean? Most Marines in here have said dumb whore. No, that's not what that means. Whoredoms. What does it mean? Come on, quickly. Anybody? Take a shot. That's not bad. That's pretty good. That's not it though, but that's really close. Say again. No, it's a compound word. It's giving you the word basically. Where is it at? Whoredoms. It's right there. That's the first word. It's whore something. What's DOM stand for? No, not dominion. Close.
Dominated.
Say it. Domain. What's a domain? This is the domain of the whore. What's a domain? It's not an area, a cage. That's not bad. It's a place where authority is exercised. A place where there's government and there's rule. Like Camp Schwab is a domain. The Brig is a domain. Japan is a domain. You know, Texas is a domain. Okay, I got to stay away from that. But, you know, a domain is where rulership is exercised. When we sin sexually, we get caught up in the domain of the whore. We get caught up in the whore's domain. And does she have good intentions? Destroy. Kill. I'll break this off next week. Your soul gets destroyed. This thing, we destroy this. It's like self-murder right here. Suicide. Our soul is shattered. Our soul is our will, intellect, and emotions. What's your will? It's your doer. What's your intellect? Your thinker. What's your emotions? Your feeler. So your doer, your thinker, and your feeler gets shattered. And you become less than whole. The battle is for our souls. You read Revelation 18:13. It talks about end times. And the battle is for the souls of mankind. Souls. This is what Jesus is after, souls. It's about the souls. Soul winning. There's a suppression and expression. This bottom line just says, be sure that your sin will find you out. Because what happens with soul ties or in sexual sins, we tend to want to hide our stuff. But I'm going to... you guys won't be here as I wrap this up, but I pray that you guys get delayed another couple of weeks. I'm just saying. That's just my prayer, Lord. It's already happened 2 weeks, so maybe... because what I'm telling you, there's an illustration I give you guys about submerging all these ping pong balls. That's what that big bowl is for. I didn't fill it up because I wasn't going to do this tonight. But we have a guy standing up there, and I have all these ping pong balls. You know, they float in water, yes? And basically it has sexting, pornographic images, porn sites, masturbation habit, secrets, TAD, TDY type of stuff, and past girlfriends. What's the other stuff? What apps are there that are just crap? Huh? Instagram, TikTok. There's other ones too. OnlyFans. That's a big. Huh? Tinder. Yeah. All of this stuff. And so basically, it's all these ping pong balls. I start throwing them in the water. If you have sexual sins, what do most people do with their shame and guilt, their sins? They try to submerge them and hide them. And I throw so many ping pong balls in the water that's difficult for him to keep them all down. And then at one point, he can't keep them all down. And what happens? Because all his energy, all his attention is focused on keeping those secrets hidden. And then one pops up. Bloop. What happens if it pops up? If one pops up in your life, let's say you got exposed. Look, I'll give you an example. Because, oh, Lord, help me. Years ago, I told you, Numbers 32:23 says, your sin will find you out. Don't think you're slick. And so years ago, this is before I was married. This is like my first enlistment. And I'm from Kansas City, and I was stationed in North Carolina, and I was going home to get my car or something. I don't remember. So I go driving home, or I take the bus home, and I'm picking up my car. But I had a girlfriend in Jacksonville. But I'm leaving her in Jacksonville. So what's the plan while I'm in Kansas City? Trying to hook up with old girlfriends and whatnot, yeah? And so it was cold out, so I had a trench coat and heavy clothes and whatnot, and I brought some condoms. And so when I went over to visit my family, my little nephew came running up to Uncle Nick, and he's hugging me, and he puts his hand in the pocket and pulled out all the condoms. And my mom and everybody was like, oh. I'm like, what, dude? That's not mine. I loaned like my brother. I loaned him my code. Dude, it was embarrassing back then. This is like 81 or 82. You guys probably ain't embarrassed about this stuff now, but you're embarrassed of some things. There's some things. Show of hands, who has secrets? No. Put your hands down. I'm talking about real secrets that's going to the grave with me. Why do we have, every one of you have secrets? Why? Shame, and what else? Guilt and shame. The fact that you have a secret immediately tells you that there's shame and guilt attached to that thing. Because you know it's wrong. Because what I generally do, I'll have people answer this question and say, what's the most shameful thing you've ever done? And I'm not going to ask you, but think about it. And some people think about it. And I said, no, I changed my mind. What is it? And they're like, oh, I ain't saying nothing. Why? Because of shame and guilt. For the record, shame is worse. Shame is worse. Both of them are bad, but shame is worse. Guilt says, I did wrong. Shame says, I am wrong. Guilt speaks to an act. Shame speaks to an identity. And the fact that we're talking about this right now, and we understand that we have shame and guilt attached with our sexual past, it needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with. Like, there are things that I've had to deal with that I've been carrying. My family is full of incest. And I'm a kid. What do I know? And so it wasn't until, what year did your dad pass away? 95. It wasn't until 95, that means I'm 33 years old. My wife and I were traveling, and we're going through Atlanta. I'm still active duty, and we're traveling through Atlanta going south on I-95, and boom! A memory came back to me and hit me like a ton of bricks. And in this memory, I remembered what my uncle did to me when I was 4 years old. I remembered. I'm driving, we had a rental, I think, and I'm driving the rental, and I just began to cry behind the steering wheel. And Sandy knows, what's going on, what's going on? I ain't telling you nothing. And I'm whispering to the Lord, this is going to the grave with me. I swear, this is going, no one's going to find out about this. I'm a freaking Marine, this doesn't happen. This is going to the grave with me. And I'm crying, and I'm wrestling with this thing. Shame and guilt just consumed me in a moment because I remembered what my uncle did to me when I was a kid. In a flash, in a second, I remembered the smell, the taste, the feeling, the sights. I remembered everything. It was like it happened just 5 minutes ago. Now, without getting too deep in this, psychology calls that repression or suppression type of stuff, right? But the reason why I'm telling you this is because we tend to want to keep secrets. But God doesn't want you to keep these secrets, and so He's going to deal with you on this. And this stuff has to be exposed. I'm kind of giving you some insight into part 5. This stuff has to be exposed. And so I'm carrying this thing for, I don't know, 2 years, 2 or 3 years. That was in 95? 95, and then when did Mona pass? 99, 4 years. I carried it for 4 years. I said I need to remember this because for 4 years I carried that thing, not knowing what to do about it. It was a secret. And then I ended up having to go home for my sister's funeral, the same sister I was telling you about. And there was so much was going on here. What ends up happening, and the reason why I'm telling you this is because I'm being an example for you to let you know that your secrets can be dealt with. Why can't I share this crap with you? Why can't I share this with you? Because all of you have secrets and you're afraid to share. Why can't people not share because of shame and guilt? Why can't I share?
You don't have shame and guilt free.
Because shame and guilt has been removed and I'm free. Exactly right. I'm free. You need to be in church every time we're here. Every time. Hell. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm serious though. I'm free to tell you this stuff. I'm free to tell you. I told you I'm an open book. So what ends up happening, I carry this thing for like 4 years, and I don't know what I'm doing with it. And I end up meeting a guy. I was like, I met a friend through a friend. We went to dinner. It was a business meeting type of thing. But I confessed to him. I didn't rehearse this. I didn't make this up. It just happened. I confessed to him, and I exposed myself to him. This burden that I've been carrying. And he was very understanding, very intelligent. And he said, you know what, let's pray. He didn't judge me or anything. He said, let's just pray. And we prayed about that thing, and he opened me up to healing. And that set me up for when I went home for my sister's funeral that I was telling you about. We got a rental car, and we're at the airport. Me and Sandy, we have 3 babies, and we have car seats and luggage. And at the airport in Kansas City, we had a small rental, compact, Marine budget type of thing. And I'm packing that jammy, and I'm squeezing stuff in, and it's going to fit because I'm a Marine. It's going to happen. What ends up happening, this random couple comes up to us, and they're kind of spying on us, like checking us out. Now I got suspicious, like, okay, we're in the city. Watch them, Sandy. Instead, they come up and said, hey, we noticed you're having trouble. You have a large family. You have a small car. And we want to pay for your rental, but we also want to switch. We have a van that we're renting, so we want to switch vehicles, and we want to pay for everything. And I told them, I said, you guys are Christians, aren't you? They said, yeah. I said, you Christians are so nosy. Why don't you mind your own business? And they just said, what? I said, I'm joking. We're joking, yeah. So what ends up happening, that van was instrumental in what happened. I would, you know how family comes over and visits all the time? And the family, you know, because they're mourning and they're bringing dishes and they're just, you know, fellowship and all this other stuff. It was so crowded, I would go in the back of the van and I would crank up that AC. I'd get in the back of the van, lay that bench seat down, and I would just have my prayer time because I'm going to speak at my sister's funeral. And I had my prayer time. And sure enough, I'm out there and then I hear this. And I look out there, it's another one of my sisters. She says, hey, we thought you went for a walk. She said, Uncle Raymond is here. Uncle Raymond was the one who had molested me. And I hadn't seen him since then. And he was a Marine too. This dude was huge. And so I got scared right there on the spot. But the Lord showed me. He says, it's time. It's time. And he says, and he showed me what's going to happen. You're going to go in, you're going to say hi to everybody, and then you're going to say, I'm going to go for a walk. And Uncle Raymond is going to say, I'll go with you. That's exactly what happened. Went in, said hello to everybody. Saw Raymond, said, I'm going for a walk. And he said, hey, Dominic, I'll go with you. We got to walking, and Uncle Raymond, we had to walk for like 15, 20 minutes. And I'm afraid. I don't know. How do you broach this topic? You molested me as a kid when I was 4. And how do you even bring this topic up? And so I just finally stopped. And I said, okay, Mona went through some things. My dad went through some things. And then I just stopped. I said, Uncle Raymond, I remember what you did to me when I was a kid. And he stopped. And he just began to bawl. I mean, I'm looking up at him. He's like this tall. He's just like, and he's crying and he's heaving. I said, Uncle Raymond, I'm not here to cause any drama. I'm not here to spread any rumors or gossip or start a fight or anything like that. I'm here to let you know I forgive you. Dude, he was bawling. He was crying. He was saying, and I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. And I was just waiting, being patient. I said, you okay? He says, Dominic, you don't understand. I'm like, what? He says, about 4 years ago, about the same time the memory came back to me, he said, about 4 years ago, I found out that my oldest son, who happened to be like 16 at the time, for the previous 4 years, he was being molested by my neighbor. He said, I kid you not. When I found out that my son was being molested, I was enraged. I grabbed the car keys and I started walking to the door to get in the car because I was going to go beat this guy's ass. He said, I got to the front door and the Spirit of God spoke to him and said, you hypocrite. You did the same thing to your nephew. And he said, I've been frozen for 4 years not knowing what to do. He says, I know what I need to do to bring healing to my son, to my family. We need to forgive. We need to move on. We need to start with forgiveness. Dude, you ain't heard nothing yet. Why can I share this with you? Because I'm free. I'm telling you right now, I'm free. I don't care what you think about me. I care what he thinks about me. I'm free to share. Many of you are not free to share. I can show you the way. Make sense? All right. Dude. Soul shatter, battles for our souls, suppression, expression, comparisons, 5 senses. We'll leave that alone. There's a lot of soul ties. Here's some indicators of soul ties. If you want to know if you're soul tied to someone, I'm going to give you some indicators. You want me to wait for you? Okay, I'm going to wait for you. These are indicators of soul ties. Listen, measure yourself by this. If you have unhealed memories of someone in your past and they bring you pleasure or pain or shame, that's a soul tie. You know, you're sitting there and you're thinking about, oh girl, your first girlfriend, and you're like, oh, was it godly? Did God approve of that? That's an ungodly soul tie. Or if you look back at your first girlfriend and she hurt you, she betrayed you, she scarred you, and you can't get that off your mind. Indicator of a soul tie. That you need to know that's a soul tie so you can ask God to help break that thing. Unable to focus. A lot of times you know that thing that consumes you, particularly in relationships, it consumes you. You're at work and you just can't stop thinking about it. It's a soul tie. You have to ask yourself, is that healthy or is it unhealthy? Is it godly or is it ungodly? There's a compulsion to return. A lot of times, one of my sisters, she was in an abusive relationship. And I went home to Kansas City one time and got in a fight with this guy. Shoved him around, punched him a little bit. And my sister took his side when he was abusing her. And she knew she was supposed to break up with him. She'd break up with him, but she could not stay broken up with him. She kept going back. Why? Soul tied. Her soul is tied. Why can you not stop masturbating? Soul ties to images, to physiological, chemical dependency type of stuff. There's more. Imprinted frame of reference. That's something as simple as a song comes on the radio from 10 years ago. And you're minding your own business, but that song comes on, back down memory lane. You're with her 10 years ago, and you're not with her today. I've had guys, many guys tell me they're with their wives today, going up and down the highway, and a song will come on the radio. And the guy on the DL turns it up like, aha. And he's thinking about the girl that he's with 2 girlfriends ago. But he's married. His wife is sitting right next to him right now. Secret. Soul tie. Make sense? Oh. Dude, I've had to go through, I had to deal with all this stuff. The reason why I'm being so blunt with you guys is because God's taking me through the fire on a lot of this. He's raked me across the coals on this, which is why I'm being very direct with you guys. And I've coined this term that I have to wear it before I can share it. The reason why I'm sharing it is because God took me through on it, all right? So what about some of you have gifts from old girlfriends or old boyfriends. Some of you have gifts. It could be a ring. It could be a picture. It could be a sweater. And every time you see that thing or wear that thing or use that perfume or that cologne, you think about her. That's a soul tie. Get rid of that stuff. I can give you so many examples of what soul ties are. You guys okay though, right? Fingerprints. This is a big one. This is fingerprints. Basically, it's when someone touches you in a way that it set the standard for everything else. I know guys who confess this. They say, I had 5 girls growing up, and I finally married Mrs. Right, girl F. Girl A, best kisser ever. And so she's the measuring stick for what kissing is. And so she couldn't kiss that. Yeah, that was okay. But she did that thing. And this girl, she could cook. This one can't cook. But this one, she was smart. And this one here, she had great breasts. And so we have this frame of reference now. But you're with her now. And every time you kiss her, it's not like it was with girl A. Can you tell her, hey, honey, real talk, can you kiss like girl A? Because you don't kiss as good as her. Can you try to kiss like her? Can you do that? You better not. Turn to somebody, tell them you better not, because some of you knuckleheads in here will try to. No, you don't do that. But what you do, what ends up happening, these guys, they're frustrated, and there's an imprinted frame of reference. It's always her. It's always her. They're always thinking about her. And they're not fully connected to the wife because they never divorced from that soul tie. Dude, I know this is heavy stuff, but we're almost done. Inability to connect with spouse. It could be porn images. It could be your smartphone. It could be anything. You can get tied to something other than your wife. This is so bad. There's a weight on your emotions. Anytime you think about her or him, in the women's case, you think about him, there's weight on your emotions. It brings you down. You want to run away and escape. You're trying to avoid it because the shame and pain, you just don't want to talk about it. I've met people, they just don't want to talk about it. I'm done. Don't bring it up no more. I don't want to talk about it because it's too difficult. Heavy spirit, when that subject comes up. There's sensitivity to think alike. This is when coincidences happen and you both are at the same place at the same time, but she's not your wife. And so you go to the club or something, or you go to a restaurant and she's there. And this is not your wife. Or you go to this restaurant, she's there. Or you go to this store, she's there. And you keep crossing paths. There's a connection there. That's not a coincidence.
Semper Fi.
I'm almost done. It should be about 30 more minutes. You guys okay? Can we handle this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to try to crush this. This Pornhub, and I don't even have to ask you if you know what Pornhub is. There are some people who say, oh, what's Pornhub? Whatever. Pornhub put this up back in December of 2019, and within like 10 or 15 minutes, they took it down because it was wrong and they knew it, but they didn't care. They're Pornhub. And people will defend porn. They say it's really harmless. What you see doesn't affect you, right? And some of you even think that. What you see doesn't affect you. You're full of crap. You're full of deceit. You're full of dishonesty. You're lying to yourself. You're not going to lie to me because I won't let you. I'm going to shoot you straight. And I'm going to shove that stuff right back down your throat. You know why? Because I tried it. It didn't work for me either. I tried being fake. It didn't work. I'm just being honest with you guys. Anybody know what Rule 34 is?
3-4. Raw.
3-4. Something's wrong with 3-4, man. So, anybody know what Rule 34 is? What is it?
It's basically this thing where if it exists, then there's some porn.
That's it. That's exactly right. If it exists, there's porn of it. So you fill in the blank. It doesn't matter what it is, someone's perverted it. Someone's perverted it. You know how I know this is? I know this to be true. You know, what can you do up here? Sexually. Anything. Whatever you can imagine, you can do it. When can you do it? Anytime. I'm doing it right now. You don't even know it. I'm at church doing it. I'm standing in formation doing it right now. Dude. So anyway, check this out. I don't know if I have time to show you this video clip. Let's see. Let's try this video clip real quick. It's To Catch a Predator. You guys ever seen that? To Catch a Predator, that sting. There's a sting with Chris Hansen. I can't stand him. That's another subject, but he doesn't care about people. He cares about sensationalism and his numbers. And these people legit have problems, and they can be restored. So if you're sitting here thinking that there's a child predator, does God love him?
Yes.
Can he be saved? Yes. Okay, so knock that crap off about, lock him up, castrate him, throw away the key. That's not the way of Christ. Because Christ they damn sure need help at this level. And I'll explain how we get to this level in a minute. So, also, FYI, they have sex stings on the island, on Kadena and Foster. You guys know about these? And it's the same thing. You'll get on some chat, you'll just click a bubble, whatever, Insta, whatever, and there'll be an invitation, and then you find out, oh, me so horny, me love you long time, and you click it, and you find out she's a wife, and her husband's away. Okay, but she's available. I'm going through a divorce. I'm available. And then you find out as you're texting her back and forth, okay, I'm not really married. I'm a dependent. I'm actually 14. And you're still in this chat. And you're sending pictures back and forth and text back and forth. And then she says, come over to my house. Buddy, they are reeling you in. And as soon as you go to her house, who's waiting for you? The authorities. And you go right to the brig. You go right to the brig. And the minute you started texting her, you broke the law. Watch. I'm talking about sexual stuff. Check this out. Let me see this.
I made some cookies. They're on the table.
He's Michael Willis, screen name generic white male. He's almost 50 years old, and he's been chatting online with a girl who calls herself Jolanda and who says she's 15.
Hungry? How does it taste?
Great. Wow. These are home baked?
Do you want time to finish your cookie, or?
Not really.
Okay, so you're good. If I ask you a couple questions.
Just on my way to the beach.
Then I remind generic white male that Jolanda told him she was 15.
What? No way.
You know, I have the transcript of your conversation with Jolanda.
We'd have to keep us a secret because of the age difference. Younger girls like you don't come along often. I'd want you again and again.
Then he sends an online picture of his penis.
No way. You know what? I don't want this cookie. I just want to get to the beach.
Come here, just 1 second, sir.
But generic white male won't be going to the beach today. The police quickly take him down to the ground.
You know what? I don't want this cookie. I just want to get to the beach.
The man walking in our back door is 21-year-old David Schumacher, screen name Freebird 72000.
Knock, knock.
Hey, come on in. You can try one of my cookies. They're so good.
Did you make them?
These are home baked.
Yeah, you ain't telling me parents is rich. What do they do for a living?
Hey, why don't you have a seat right over there?
The man sits and answers questions. He can't figure out if I'm the girl's father or a police officer. And remember, he has no idea he's being videotaped.
You come off as law enforcement.
Really? You know how you come off?
How's that?
Somebody who's very nervous. Somebody who came over here to have sex with a 14-year-old girl.
14-year-old? What?
I read him some of what he said online.
Are you sexy naked? Have you ever played with yourself? You gonna put my in your mouth?
Man, I like
Because I like that, I'll teach you.
Hey, man, I don't want to be on the news. You feel me?
We are filming.
I don't want to be on the news, dog.
Well, it's a little late for that, dog. Now, if there's anything else you want to tell me.
He quickly comes up with a disguise.
All I gotta say is, ain't nothing going on here, dude. Nothing funny going on here.
Just on my way to the beach.
Am I being held up here?
You're not being held up. You're free to walk out that same door you walked
Do
in.
y'all want to interview? Hey, how y'all doing? Okay. Room. Whose house is this? Can I smoke this shit?
No,
right
you
now?
can't smoke this.
I don't think so.
You can smoke outside.
I'm gonna, in the interest of fast forwarding, why they do this? There's a lot, but why they do this? How did he get here? They have pastors, they have rabbis, they have teachers, they have law enforcement. How they get here? Young, old, black, white, Hispanic, it don't matter. How did they get here? Because I promise you this, because I'm going to give you a clue. They did not wake up and say, you know what, today I'm going to do something so stupid that I'm going to go to jail, ruin my life, lose my job, and lose my marriage. Yeah, here I go. So explain to me the process, how they get here. Because we're going to find ourselves here in just a minute how we get here.
Bad habits.
Bad habits. What else?
No foundation.
Because this seems a little far-fetched, but I promise you, if you're into pornography, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Watch. I come up with this this acronym, and a lot of this stuff again. Anyway, it's IDEAS. IDEAS. It's an acronym that I came up with, and just for the record, this is what porneia, where we get pornography from. It's in the Bible. It means fornication. The Greek word is 4204, porneia. It means fornication. Now, Webster's, today, modern day Webster's, they're lying to you. Kind of like a lot of your sapper training. It's a bunch of lies, misinformation. I'd say maybe 5% of what you're, maybe 10, I'll be generous. Maybe 10% of what you're getting in sapper training is information. The rest is misinformation. It is what it is. I've been to a lot of them, and it's a waste of time. Webster says, that which is designed to arouse sexually. Oh, that's not true. That is not true. Because my wife is designed to arouse me sexually. That doesn't mean it's pornographic. It's not. Now watch. This is what it literally means. Porn and graph. Porn means illicit, deviant, lewd, sinful sex. And graph is basically images and pictures. So images and pictures of illicit, deviant, lewd sex. That's what pornography is. Sinful pictures and images of sex. Wanton. And there's two fundamental messages of pornography. I'm just fast forwarding through this. If you've seen any kind of pornography, and I know you have, there's two messages they try to portray on film. Is number one, girls are freaks, they're nymphos, they think about sex more than you do, and they have to have it. They think about sex like you do. That's a huge lie. And number two, sex without love works. It does not. This is why you're frustrated. I promise you, every one of you, I could take a survey right now in private and ask you, how's that working for you? All that porn. Is it fulfilling your life? You're frustrated. It's miserable. You know it is. It's not fulfilling. It's not. And so, again, two fundamental messages is women are freaks and got to have it. We had 2 guys in the brig, unrelated cases. And they were in there at the same time. And what happened, the first guy we're talking to, he was, I don't forget, 25, married. He said, I married a virgin, and we've been married 5 years. We've only had sex 3 times in 5 years. Pay very close attention to this. I'm going to see if you catch this. He said, we've had sex 3 times in 5 years. Is that a problem?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. And we're asking what happened. Because he's in here now for underage child porn. He's pending trial for child porn. And he says, it's my wife's fault that I'm in here because, I'm a sexually active being and, we only had sex 3 times in 5 years. And so he's not telling us the full story. So Sandy and I, we go talk to the wife. And we met her at Chili's. We're in a corner and we're talking to her. And she says, see if you guys catch this. If you know this, don't say anything. She said, I said, is it true you were a virgin when you married? She said, yes. This is the first guy you were with? Yes. Did you only have sex 3 times? She said, yes. Why? And she says, number one, and she was crying. It was like pulling teeth. She didn't want to say. She said, because I don't like the way it makes me feel. And I'm like, was it painful? What's going on? What do you mean it doesn't? And she wouldn't say. She said, I just don't like the way it makes me feel. And then she said, it's disgusting. What is he doing? What's happening? I don't understand. And then she said this, and I should have got it, but I didn't. She said, he won't impregnate me. So I don't like the way it makes me feel. It's disgusting, and he won't impregnate me. I didn't get it. Anybody know what's happening? If you know this already, don't say anything. What'd you say? What'd you say? You know what? She finally broke down and she cried. And she said, okay. She said, the 3 times that we had sex, he was having sex with me, and when he was about to ejaculate, he withdrew himself and he sprayed me with his semen. All 3 times. I don't like the way it makes me feel. It's nasty. He won't impregnate me. Where did he learn that from? You're right. He learned that from porn. And we went back and we talked to him in front of the group, the whole class. It was a big conversation. And said, is this true? And he said, yeah. And then he said, in all honesty, he said, ain't that what you're supposed to do? He said, everything I learned about sex, I learned from porn. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And the guy sitting over here, another prisoner, said, that's not what you're supposed to do? I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And they were both being honest, and I believe them. Because we met a lot of other guys who think that's what they're supposed to do. Because all they've learned from the time they were like 8, 9, 10 years old is porn. That's what you do. Bang, 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 withdraw yourself, squirt her with your semen. Don't tell me this porn is beneficial. It's destroying people. Dude. So, that women are nymphos. Women aren't nymphos. Most women, I promise you, I didn't go over this in the anatomies, but I'm going to bring it up right now. Most women, when surveyed, healthy women, honest women, will tell you that, and this is going to piss a lot of guys off, that the male penis is ugly. It's unattractive. And they're like, I don't get it. And guys are like, what are you talking about? Look at it. And they like, because guys like their junk. You like your junk. That's why it's called homoerotic. You like yourself. And women say, it's just a penis. I don't get it. It's ugly. And all our fantasies right there are just blown. And we're like, what? No, just shut up. And the women, when they go on in these surveys, they go on to say, I don't even like my own body, my own vagina, my breast, my thighs. Why would I like that? Some of you is like your fantasies are like you're like, well, damn, I don't want to hear this. I want to walk out of here right now. It's true. Women don't think about it like this. But if you have a healthy, godly sexual union with your wife, I promise you, it's fire. There's desire. When I get to part 4, sex in the spirit, the Bible shows a man and a woman making love. And bruh, they are making love. They're getting down. And he works his way down from her, he talks about, he's not even touching her. He talks about her eyes, her nose, her lips, her neck, her breast, her belly, her thighs. And he starts talking about what's going on around the thighs, thinks he smells and tastes. Some of you are like, let's go there now. You guys. Dude, it's erotic. And it's supposed to be. And right after this, the man, he engages with sex with his wife. And right after, it's like, it's over. And God told him, drink deeply and enjoy because I made this for you. And God says, I approve of what you're doing. And when they're finished, the man, it's kind of like he's smoking his cigarettes. Woo-hoo-hoo. I have been with my wife in my garden, tasted of her wares, and I'm satisfied. This dude is on fire, mad in love with his wife. And that's what health is. It's not this physically anatomical attracted crap. This stuff that you see on TV about Sex in the City, those women, and they're talking about, penis and anal sex and all these women looking at a man's butt. That's bullshit. And the women that do that, they're faking it. I know you guys don't like to hear this. I don't care. It's not true. The constant, physically, sexually, is us. One of the questions I used to ask, I didn't ask on the sex test, who thinks about sex more? I used to have this on the sex test. I might bring it back. Who thinks about sex more? Do men think more about sex or do women think more about sex? See, it's a trick question. Who thinks about physical sex more? Men or women? Show of hands, men. Physical sex. Put your hands out. Show of hands, women. Be honest. Who thinks about emotional, mental sex more, men or women? Totally women. Totally women. That's the norm. If you're that husband and you have a wife that thinks about physical sex as much as you do, don't say nothing. Because I heard a preacher say, don't say nothing because we hate you. We will kill you. So the norm for the woman is she needs physical, she needs emotional connection. And the man needs to be taught to connect with her emotionally. Because all we know is physical. We're driven by physical. That's what we are. We're sight-based. And so we have to learn to be nice to the girl. That's what he kept saying. Be nice to the girl, be nice to the girl, be nice to the girl. Learn to be nice to the girl. Because if I'm nice to the girl, then she kind of blooms and opens up and you have great sex. Because she wants to give. If you do this right, she wants to give. Not just her body, her whole soul, her life. She'll serve you. This is very, very healthy. So, bottom line, 2 fundamental messages. Women are nymphos and they got to have it. I can't tell you how many men I've met that say, and they got in trouble, they're in the brig, and we ministered to them over the last 18 years. They said, we had one guy who thought, he got caught, he retired from the military, he retired, got a job over here, and was over here like a year or two, and he did something stupid to the point where they actually took him out of retirement, put him on active duty, and court-martialed his ass. I didn't know you could do that. I saw it firsthand. I was like, oh, what? And this guy was a personal friend of mine. And what he was doing, he was going up to the Lawson stores and the Family Mart stores during the high school girls, the Japanese girls when they get out of school, and he near a high school, and he would park there, and he would masturbate, and then he escalated from masturbation into, having a dildo, waving a dildo. And then asked him, why'd you do that? And he said, one, I thought that the dildo would turn her on. I thought all they had to do was see a dildo, and they got to have me. Some of you are thinking that. I pray to God you get it corrected right now. That's a lie. That's not how this works. And so then he said, the other reason why I did it is because my wife said I had a small penis. And I promise you, we've been in ministry, 30 years or something, 25, 30 years. And in all the counseling we've ever done, we've never met, there's only one woman in all our counselings that we've had that ever told us that they told their husband he had a small penis. Because penis size is generally not an issue for a woman. It's not. That's an issue with men. I brought this up last week about size, anatomies. Now, just to fast forward here, we went to his wife and we talked to her. I said, did you tell him he had a small penis? And she said, yeah, I did. She says, but the reason I told him that, I didn't say he had a small penis. What I did, I answered his question that he had been plaguing me for 5 or 7 years because this was her second marriage. And she said, I was previously married. From the time I married this second guy, this clown, he asked me every day, your first husband, was he bigger than me? Was he better than me? Was he bigger than me? Was he better than me? Was he bigger than me? Was he better than me? She said, I finally got fed up with it and I said, yes, so what? So she didn't say he had a small penis. She just answered this stupid question. And she said, yes, so what? It's not a thing. Well, to him it was. He heard inferiority. And so he thought he had to go wave a dildo and get younger girls to please younger girls sexually. All from porn. Comparing yourself with this crap right here. So, it's messages of porn, bad. That women are nymphos and got to have it? Nope. And sex without love works? No. You keep on having sex without love, you'll be frustrated, and it's a scratch that you can never itch. You'll never be fulfilled. So it's not a legitimate outlet. It is very harmful, and there's a lot of victims. Here's the 5 stages right here, and I'm almost done. 5 stages of porn. These are ideas. Now watch this. First, there's introduction, desensitization, escalation, addiction, and solicitation. First one, introduction. What is that? Say it. Somebody said it. It's the first time you saw porn. And for many of us, it could be 5 years old. Maybe it was 10 years old. I don't know. But that's the Pandora's box. It's open. So the door is open now, and you saw porn, right? It's only a matter of time before you become desensitized to that thing. I remember back when I was growing up, we would get the Sunday paper. Anybody know why I was thrilled to get the Sunday paper? I don't know if you guys get papers anymore at home or whatever. The Sunday paper was thick, and it was full of the big comics, but it was also full of ads. And it had colored ads on newspaper print, colored ads, all kind of color. And I remember as a kid going through the colored ads looking for the lingerie. This is in 60, 65, 68, 70, 75, 1975. So that was my introduction. And I was like, I'm looking at the swimsuit, Sports Illustrated issue, that swimsuit issue. Remember, you guys, do they still do Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue? That's porn. That's all that is. It's porn. And so we fought over that. So then there's this desensitization. What does that mean? Quickly, what does that mean? There's a stage. What does that mean? You become desensitized. What does that mean?
I don't think it's a big deal.
Not a big deal. It's not. You're going to just. It doesn't matter much anymore. You just do it. It's not a big deal. And that quickly leads to this escalation stage. What is escalation? How do you escalate in porn? Maybe the first thing you saw was pages of porn books or whatever, magazines. And then that's not enough anymore. You need more. It escalates. Now you need the videos. And then even in that, you're looking at the videos, you're just looking at naked girls. That's not enough anymore. Because you've gone through, you're being continually desensitized. That's not enough. Now I need to see 2 girls. Now I need to see all kind of things, tentacles, hobbits, midgets, goats. I got to see everything now. And that's still not enough. This is bad. This is the track. It happens. So you escalate, not just with imagery, but with time. You spend more time. I've had Marines that I've had to counsel during lunchtime. These are married men. These are gunnies. These are lieutenant colonels who raced home during lunchtime, speeding through traffic so they can get home to get on porn. Because they can't do it. They can't do it at work. They're not supposed to. And so they speed home to get on the PC to watch porn. And they admitted, here I am racing to sin. And now it's right here on our smartphones. I don't have to go nowhere. I just do this on my smartphone. I got unlimited data, bitch. Yes, I've had people tell me this. And it's like, how sad. How devastating. Dude, it got quiet. Dude. So then, after escalation, there's this form of addiction. You can't stop. We had a lieutenant sitting right in here who said, this was maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago. He said, when it gets to this point, he said, I told my nephew, when you've gone too far. And I said, what would you tell him? He said, well, this is the rule, measuring stick I do. If you start looking at homosexual porn, you've gone too far. You need to take a break. I'm like, that's probably kind of homophobic. That was kind of weird. But he said, that's the rule. That's my measuring stick I live by. If I start gravitating, if I'm looking at it so much that I gravitate into homosexual porn, then I'm going to take a break. That's your measuring stick? Dude, this is bad. And after this class, he was like, damn, I need to give some more explanation to my nephew. Dude. So this addiction stage, you can't stop now. You'll spend hours in the morning. You know, here you are, you got on at 10, and now before you know it, it's midnight, now it's 2 o'clock, and you can't stop. And you didn't get any sleep, and you're crap all day at work. Dude, I'm probably nailing modestly 60 or 70% of you right now. It's just true. And I'm not, it's not here for condemnation. I'm not throwing stones. I'm trying to point you to a deliverer. It's Christ. He will forgive. He will restore. And the other thing is where I meant to bring this up, where I was molested. Right now, it's estimated that 25% of all males are molested. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4 molested. 1, 2, 3, 4 molested. 1, 2, and so on. It means 25% of you in here have been molested, and you don't know what to do with it. And I had one guy tell me one time. He said, I asked him, when was your first sexual experience? He said, oh man, that was probably, I don't know, 16, 17 or whatever. I said, really? Okay, that's uncommon today, but okay. He said, well, besides that, my uncle made me fondle him, but that wasn't no big deal. But so I had sex when I was 16, though. I'm like, wait, say that again? He said, well, when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, my uncle made me fondle him. But that's not sexual activity, is it? Yeah, it is. And he was blown away. He's like, I didn't know. We had, when I'm getting to this addiction stage, let me just say this before I go on. After addiction, there's a solicitation stage. This is the really, really bad part, because you apply what you've learned in this, which is why those guys were saying, I sprayed her with my semen because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. I showed her that penis because I thought that would turn her on. You begin to believe the lies of porn. Fantasy replaces reality. And you'll actually take this stuff and you'll try to apply it to your wife, to your girlfriend, in your life somehow. And you're messing some stuff up. We had one guy, it was a Marine. This broke my heart, man. Sandy, the trunk on Hanson. What happened? He had a girlfriend. Can you guys hear her? So he said, get in the trunk. She got in the trunk, took her to the barracks, had sex with her, get in the trunk, took her out the gate, dropped her off, and she's waiting for his phone call. But there are a lot of Marines who are like, that's my boy right there, my boy. Yeah. Really? Really? We want to crown him champion? This is what he thought of her. That's sad that he thought this little of her. And what was she thinking of herself, that she would get in the trunk, get used, and then not get called back and hoping that he's going to call back. Where's she at, man? What's her worth mentally? This is some crazy stuff. And then all this stuff comes from our drive for sex. So this thing right here is where you cross a line and get in trouble. Because this is where all the illegal stuff happens. This is where all the offenses and crimes happen. Because you can never get enough, so you have to push them boundaries. Oh man, so much here. Last thing, I told you guys I won't get into this, but masturbation is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's literally, go look it up in an original dictionary, not a Today dictionary, because Today dictionary just says self-stimulation for climax, recreation, therapeutic, bull crap. That word right there, it literally means to abuse yourself, to destroy yourself with your hand. It literally means self-abuse. Compound word, manus and stuprare. To abuse yourself with your hand, to destroy yourself with your hand. It's a sickness. And we've had, without getting too much into this, because I promise you, we're on third base, we're going to steal home here in just a second. This is flesh. That's all this is. This is flesh. Flesh is bad. And we have guys, just as I wrap this up, we have guys, wrap this up. We have guys here on UDP who ask me, is it okay to masturbate while I'm on deployment, even just to images of my wife? No. What's the big deal? If you're honest, I can tell you. If you're receptive, I can tell you. The big deal is, it's real easy to masturbate. It is. It's difficult to maintain sexual purity, but the problem is when you go back home because you've developed or increased a masturbation habit, it's a habit, it's your training. When you go back home and you're with your wife and you're having sex and she begins to tell you, not tonight, I have a headache, not tonight, I'm tired, or things don't work out. It's real. These men, they contact me. I've been doing this for 25 years. They contact me and say, I'm not having sex with my wife because, they admit it takes work to have sex with my wife. Porn is easier. It never says no. And they'll tell the wife after a couple of rejections, they'll begin to say, without telling her, I don't need you for this. I can take care of this myself. Is that connecting with her or disconnecting from her? You guys already know. All right? Praise the Lord. Let's go ahead and stand up.